Richard and welcome to Language Link Da Nang and our Listen, Speak and Roar live stream to help you improve your English skills. We want you to improve your listening skills, your speaking skills and your confidence when speaking English. We have already covered a lot of topics in these videos with topics such as how to apologize, how not to say some things, and we give you more words to expand your vocabulary. Today's episode is week 13 and it's about making a CV or resume for English job hunting. By working on your English written skills, you can have a great resume or CV, which shows your future employer that you can use English. It's very important for some jobs all over the world. With a resume in English, you can apply for that great job you have been wanting. So, what are you waiting for? First, if you have seen any of the previous videos, or you like this video, please click the like button, like the page, and go and watch any videos you haven't seen so far, because we want them to be useful for you. So, let's go. The first thing I want to talk about is, what is a CV or resume? Well, it's the piece of paper that you give to the person who might give you a job. Maybe you email it to them. And maybe this one we say in England and this one we say in America. It doesn't really matter which one we use. So, this is actually a big word, curriculum vitae. Too big. Let's call it resume today. So, what are we going to put on our resume? First, I want to talk about a couple of words which will be important in this video. Potential employer. This means the person who will give you a job or the company that you will work for. And potential means you don't work for them yet. Maybe you would like to work for them. And that's why you're going to write your CV or resume. So, potential employer. Maybe your employer in the future. And another word I want us to talk about before we get into the video. Applicant. This is you, the person who is applying for a job. You are the applicant. This means you don't have the job yet, but you are sending your CV and resume because you want the job. So, what do we put on our CV or resume? Let's take a look. The first thing we might want to see on a resume are our personal details. So, what does personal details mean? Well, we can start very easily with our name. What else do we need to put on there? Maybe it's useful to include your address. Where do you live if they need to contact you? Or maybe it's also easy to include your telephone number in case they can give you a call. Very useful would be your email address. And underneath all of this, we might include some more personal information called a personal profile. This is going to be some short words about you. You don't need to write anything else in this section like your date of birth, whether you are married or not, or even your nationality. Are you Vietnamese or are you from China? Unless the advert for the job has asked you for that information. You don't even need to put a picture on your CV in most countries around the world, but I think in Vietnam, that's okay. So, what goes in a personal profile? Well, it's a way of introducing yourself to your potential employer. It shows who you are, what skills do you have, and why should they let you work for them. So, this is up to you what you write, but who you are, type of person are you? What skills do you have? And why should they let you work for them? The next thing we can include after our personal details and personal profile is our employment history. Where did we work before? No. So there's a certain way we can say this on the CV. We want to say not only where, but also what did we do in the job, a little bit. If you're very young and this is the first job you're applying for, don't worry. But if you have done many jobs, you only need to put in the most important jobs that you have done. And you can just give a quick summary, very brief. For example, I did various administrative jobs. Maybe these are the jobs you don't feel are so important for the job you are applying for. Remember, you're the applicant for the job. Maybe you want to write, where did you work? So that's the name of the company. And then you want to write, what was your role? Maybe you were a director. Maybe you were a customer services advisor. Maybe you were a cashier or something like that. And then under here, you probably want to write our duties. What did we do in that job that helped us to make the company a great company? And we can show up in here to help our future potential employers be impressed by our CV. Now, in terms of English and grammar, there are some things it's important to know when writing a CV or resume in English. First thing is, probably, your CV is going to be in the past tense, because it's history, and we did it before. So, you're not writing about jobs that you want to do in the future. You're giving them a history of what you did in the past. Something else that you might find useful about writing a CV is sometimes we do this. Sometimes we omit the subject in the CV. And this means instead of writing a sentence like, I was in charge of something, we already know that it was you because we're reading your CV. So very often we just write was in charge of. We don't need the subject, i.e. you, so we omit it and we just write was in charge of. It's a little bit shorter, takes up less space, and we don't need to give any more information than this. So we like to put things in the smallest way possible in the CV. Another thing that's very useful to know is power verbs. Big exclamation mark for this one. This means we can write a sentence like was in charge of. This is okay. We can guess that this means you were responsible for something. But power verbs make this seem a little bit more exciting and give you the feeling that you had power in that role. For example, maybe the sentence is was in charge of a sales team. Okay, you were in charge of a sales team. Sounds good. How about if we write it like this? Directed and trained a sales team. That shows that we were really powerful in this role and we had a lot of responsibilities. It gives more detail to the potential employer about what we did in that job. Maybe we can improve on this sentence even further with another power verb. For example, let me put a comma here. I directed and trained a sales team. Maybe and. Surpassed, went over. Targets. So this means we did more than was required of us in our job. And maybe even more if we want to impress our employer. Let's show them by how much. But let's make sure it's true what you're saying when you say thing. So, directed, trained, surpassed, they're all power verbs which you might find useful on your CV. So, of course, as an English as a second language learner, you might not know as many power verbs as others. So, this is where there is a top tip I can give you. If you're looking for some more power verbs, then I would recommend a thesaurus, kind of like a dictionary, but with many different words that mean the same thing. Some of these power verbs will be in there. You can also get some apps which can act as a thesaurus. Now we've talked about power verbs, we've talked about giving our personal information and our employment history. We also need to talk about our educational qualifications. So, maybe we went to school, maybe you went to university or college, and it's important that we can show our potential employers how well we did. Now there's a way that we can structure this on our CV or resume, and it's going to be on the left hand side the name of the university, school or college that we went to. Then it's going to be the name of the university, and this one's going to be the name of the qualification that we gained while we were in there. And then over here, we're going to write the date that we achieved that qualification. From to. For example, if I went to university in 2016 and I left in 2019, I can write the years like this. Even better if you can write the months that you started and when you finished. So, underneath this, we usually put in an English-speaking CV any other skills, achievements, or training that you have received. Maybe you've done another relevant course that is important. Maybe it wasn't at university or college, but it's something that you got in your previous job that might be useful for your future job. Maybe even if you've got a qualification in IT skills that you got online, you can mention that too. How about any awards you have received or any other professional achievements that might be relevant? Maybe you were captain of the school football team, or you organised a dance competition outside school or university. We can write that also underneath here. After this, we can have our interests or our pastimes. These are kind of like the hobbies that we do outside of education or work. Sometimes that might be useful for the employers to understand a little bit more about you, a little bit more about who you are. So, for example, I like building model planes in my free time. This would show a future employer or a potential employer that you are good with your hands. Maybe you want them to know that. The last thing that we would usually put on an English-speaking CV are referees, like the person who blows the whistle in the football match. These are the people we can check that all of the details you wrote in your CV or resume are true. So we're going to have to write the names and contact details. So only name and number. If you want to give a detail about their position at a company, that is also useful. And you don't need to give a lot of names, but do try to give the most recent referees. For example, your previous employer, or somebody who isn't your family member, but someone who can say what a great person you are, especially in a working environment. You don't need to give more than 2 or 3 referees on any CV. So, my final tips would be, try to explain any gaps in a CV. For example, if you have been working from 2012 to 2014, but then you didn't work for 1 year, you can say why on your CV. You can explain that maybe you went traveling, but during that time you developed some new skills. For example, maybe you improved your English while you were doing it, or you learned to be more independent. That's also something useful for potential employers. Try reading your CV or resume out loud to yourself. We mentioned in the previous videos about speaking to yourself in the mirror to practice pronunciation. This is also very useful for reading your application letter out loud. This will make it easier for you to understand if you have made any mistakes, or if it reads naturally to another person who might be reading it. And last but not least is the spelling and grammar check, because very easy to make mistakes. I make them too. So I would recommend, if you are typing your CV, I think you can change the country's language in Microsoft Word to English, US or American, and let that do the spell check for you, or try and get a friend to help you check your CV or resume for any spelling or grammar errors before you send it. I hope you enjoyed some more information about making a CV or resume in English with us today at LanguageLink.net. If you thought this video was useful, please give us a like underneath the video and like the page, and go and watch some of the older videos, because we think you'll find them really great to help your listening, your speaking, and your confidence with English. From all of us at Language Link, we hope to see you soon. Goodbye.